Hello and welcome to another video from Twisty Customs. Today we're trying something new with a Nikon Z6 and a 24 to 70mm kit lens, so let me know if you prefer this over the old GoPro. Well, today you're in for a treat. We have a Nova Staccato P slide and frame. This is a fantastic looking little slide and frame from Nova. I'm very impressed at the general quality of it, the smoothness of the slide against the frame, and the fitment of the slide against the frame seems pretty good. The trades look amazing. We've got Staccato P at the front of the frame, we've got a serial number and TX, and I guess a laser etched American flag, the stars and stripes there towards the rear. On the left side of the frame we have the 20*11 Staccato logo, and quite cheekily we have a little R in a circle there because 2011 is indeed a registered trademark. Cheeky of course because Nova has copied this slide. So very excited for this kit. In the bag we have the frame pins that came with the slide, and this little bag which has the dummy firing pin that goes in the rear, and it also acts as a hammer protection pad, and the dummy extractor plug which fits in the rear of the frame. And that's been quite common to a lot of different Nova models. And then we have some sights. We have, unusually for a Nova kit, we have a fibre front sight. That's the front sight for you. And the rear sight, which does not have any trades on it, has a serrated texture on the rear, and it's the very square looking STI. So we'll look forward to installing those, although I will almost certainly upgrade the fibre optic. Also included is the outer barrel, the guide rod and the guide plug. Now that guide plug is probably looking a little on the small side. That's because this is a 4.15 inch barrel. That is unusually small. It's smaller than the regular 4.3 inch from Tokyo Marine. So that's going to be fun to work with, and of course because of that they have to supply a custom length spring guide and a custom length guide plug. So I'm glad they included that, because trying to source them or machine them myself would be very difficult. There's a beautiful cut to this barrel, which I'm not sure if you can make out, but it is very, very well shaped to the cone at the end. So we'll see how that works out when we install it. That's again nice matte black paint finish for this one. Now, when I purchased this at the beginning of August 2020, I had to go looking for a grip that was going to be suitable. Originally I was just going to swap this out with my STI DVC tactical slide, but I decided, well, you know, we're nearly there, we might as well build a hole gun. I did manage to find this AIP grip, which is textured exactly the same as Staccato used to use on their guns prior to 2019. Now, it always takes the airsoft world a little bit of time to catch up with the real steel world, no surprise there, which is why we don't see many Staccato slides and frames yet. Staccato is the new name for a couple of years now for STI. Quite oddly, on the bottom of the frame we do have trades as well, and it does say STI International, Georgetown, Texas, USA. I do not know if that is the case on the real steel. If you know, let me know. I think it's very unlikely, because I think they can entirely rebrand it as Staccato. So I got the AIP, would you believe it, but late August 2020, Airsoft Masterpiece came to the rescue with the new style Staccato grip. The texture and logo on this grip is amazingly accurate to the to the Staccato grips of the real steel. It has the usual mouldings and beautifully sculpted shapes of an Airsoft Masterpiece grip, and you'll notice that due to the shaping on the right side of the grip, the mag well is also shaped, so a lot of our aftermarket mag catches won't fit into an Airsoft Masterpiece grip. like that. Unusually for people like AIP, but quite common for Airsoft Masterpiece, they have included an STI tactical magwell, and this still has the STI letters engraved on the underside of it. Again, I don't think that's faithful to the real steel, but you know, it's close enough. Same company, just a different name. And the cutouts for easily gripping your mags. And then the usual Airsoft Masterpiece bits and bobs, the screws, the ball that goes in the bottom of the mainspring housing, and what have you. Also, there's this grub screw. I love these in Airsoft Masterpiece kits. I haven't checked, but I suspect, in fact we'll check right now, I suspect in the top of the mainspring housing, yeah, I'm right, if you can see that on camera, that's very, very dark, it's hard to tell, but there is a hole just at the side of the hammer spring, and the grub screw goes in there. You bend the left hand prong on your sear spring forwards, and you adjust this screw until it pins the grip safety in place, and that essentially deactivates your grip safety and makes for a less rattly gun overall. So love those things. I'm very pleased that Airsoft Masterpiece does that. Let's take a very quick look at what is going inside this gun. For the lower, we have cow disconnector, cow firing pin knocker locker. We have a cow sear spring. I usually use Airsoft Masterpiece, so I'm interested to see how this works. A couple of valve knocker springs, they always go flying off. A couple of hammer springs in the form of a cow hammer power regulator kit. We have an STI DVC D-style hammer, which is very similar to the Staccato P hammer, closest match I could get. Then we have an Edge S2 trigger, which isn't a great trigger, but it's not very faithful in terms of reproducing the real steel, but that's life. The actual style with just 2 bars going across it is impossible to come by in the shops at the moment. And then I do have an Airsoft Masterpiece triggering. Now, I had trouble with this particular triggering in another build, so I took it out, and just in case that doesn't work for us, I have a replacement or a backup in the form of an AIP triggering. I've never used one of these before, but it's there just in case. For the upper, we have all sorts of goodies going on here. We've got Airsoft Masterpiece thumb safeties. We've got an Edge Bullseye fibre optic sight, which clearly I'm not going to need because I didn't realise there was already a fibre optic sight, and I assumed that this one's going to fit better, or fit nicely, I would hope. We have Decepticon 70-degree bucking. I bought this for another build and ended up not using it, so I have a spare cow ultralight or cow dynamic blowback housing BBU. Let's see how that works out. Never used one before. Cow buffer kit. Not sure how many of those we'll need on such a short guide rod. Sadly, I couldn't find the correct style of grip safety. This is an SV type one, but it's not a bad match, certainly in terms of the profile. Cow nozzle spring there. We have an Airsoft Masterpiece brass hop-up, and I just realised this is a 1911 version with the post on it, so let's hope, and we are in luck, but yes, there is a hole in the end of the Staccato P guide rod. Good news, it's all working out in theory so far. These just arrived in the mail a week or two ago. These are Snappy Boys from Waldo Customs. So we'll throw one of these in. This will be my second build with one of these springs. The last one was certainly snappy. Let's see how that works. Of course, I'm sure they're designed for a 5.1 inch barrel, so we will be chopping that down and seeing if we can get great performance out of it for a 4.15 inch barrel. I'll also be using WeTech plunger pins. And I love these because if you can see that, they come pre-sharpened. They have a point on them, and this is good news because it gives you a very positive lock on your thumb safety. The Airsoft Masterpiece ones with the Airsoft Masterpiece safeties tend to be very, very bouncy. They don't locate very well. So Airsoft Masterpiece, if you're listening, sort it out. In the meantime, these WeTech ones are great. As are the 9-ball, I believe. They're pointy as well. Normally, I'd be... this is a Garda enhanced nozzle, and normally I'd be using Tokyo Marui stock internals. These are currently available August 2020, and we know that Tokyo Marui doesn't have spare parts out there very often, so if you see them, buy them. That is it for the upper, lower and innards for this gun. I will put her together and I will come back and show you how she looks. Just doing a quick dry fit gives you an idea of what this very stubby gun will look like. Hello and welcome back. This is Twisty Customs with part 2 of my review of the Staccato P kit. It is the Nova slide and frame, and it is the Airsoft Masterpiece grips that I've used here. Inside was a 90mm PDI 6.01 barrel that was designed for the MP9. Cow light BBU with a Garda nozzle, Airsoft Masterpiece brass hop-up unit with an Autobot 70 degrees, and this was an S2 trigger from Edge. Not the trigger I wanted, but the trigger I want is a little bit scarce at the moment. The mag catch came with the grips, and the safeties are both SV style. I couldn't get any STI style, but there's very little in it, and STI style D-ring trigger. I have to be honest, it went together very, very easily. There was very little fitment to do. I had to file the inside of the ridges on the slide so as to allow the barrel to move. And after a test fire, I realized that the piston on the Cow BBU was loose. I hadn't checked how tight that was before I assembled the gun, so I had to get that sorted out. But otherwise, it went together quite smoothly. It currently has a Waldo Snappy Boy spring in, and I chopped an inch off that to make it appropriate for the 4.15 inch barrel. I haven't short stroked it yet, and I haven't played with it to tune it any further than that. The trigger's doing a fairly decent job, but there is quite a bit of travel. I need to adjust the travel screw for the trigger as well. Let's talk about this grip for a moment. The Airsoft Masterpiece grip, it is great. It's one of the aluminium grips, so the quality's there. It feels good in the hand. I particularly like this recess here for the middle finger next to the trigger undercut. This makes the whole gun generally feel a lot slimmer, to be honest, so I do like that shape. The STI Tactical magwell is not as tight on here as I would have liked, so that can make for a rattle, which I'm a bit upset about. The pattern itself is, as the name implies, Stac style, but it is not an accurate representation of the real steel Staccato grip, which uses a slightly smaller motif, and the arrangement is slightly different, whereas these are paired back to back. The real one is paired point to point, and I think the new Nova polymer grip for Staccatos follows that style. The mainspring housing on the Airsoft Masterpiece grip doesn't have any of the Staccato texturing on it. This is exactly the same as you will get in any other of their black aluminium grips, and the texture is also missing from the front of the trigger guard. In the real steel there is some of the Staccato texturing there as well, but nevertheless the star is present. It is approximately parallel to the slide, as is the real steel, so that's accurate at least. I wish that, or I hope that somebody is about to release a 2020 Staccato version. This slide, of course, is based on the Staccato P from 2019, back when they were manufactured by STI. Of course, STI changed their name, I think, in May 2020 to Staccato, and the 2020 model Staccatos have a small R cut here, and they have an adjustable sight, so I'm really looking forward to getting an adjustable sight version. But that also explains what I mentioned in my first video regarding the trades on the bottom. It still says STI International, and that is correct, because at the time of the release of this pistol it was still manufactured by STI before the name change. I did end up using an edge bullseye sight after all. When this was assembled, I found that it was shooting quite low at the kind of distances that I tend to shoot at, and in an effort to make it more accurate, I used the edge bullseye because it's considerably taller, 2 or 3 millimeters in fact taller than the fiber front sight that was sent with the kit itself from Nova. It was not a good fit. In fact, it's a very loose fit. You might even be able to see daylight at the front there. So this is currently held in with glue. Couldn't even use a screw because the fitment was so loose compared to the Nova sight that we saw earlier, which actually fit with a bit of fiddling quite easily, which I was very impressed with. Now, depending on the kind of distances you shoot at, then you might find that this is appropriate, but I'm looking at around 10 to 15 meters for my zero distance, and I needed to change that. The slide did scratch the black barrel slightly. I'm not sure if you can make that out, but as I said, I filed it down inside, and it's gone together quite well. Otherwise, all I can say is I'm very, very pleased with this. I'm going to have fun tuning it a little bit further. I think it looks great, especially with the titanium grey against the black externals and black grip. That's a nice combination. And just, I'm enjoying having a shorter high capper. This is my first gun that's shorter than a 5.1, and 4.15 seems to be a good length. So anyway, here's hoping that Nova and Airsoft Masterpiece have further Staccato models planned, and maybe we'll see one of those builds in the future. This is Twisty Customs, signing off.